welcome. Welcome all. Come take a seat. Young people, you could sit on the hillside if you would like to, but there's plenty of room here, and gather in. We'll hear from some dignitaries who have joined us. But what a marvelous afternoon. We are fortunate to have this kind of weather. Grab a seat. You can move your seat back to the sun if you're a little chilly, but anyway, that's okay. It's October and we're fortunate to be outdoors. I am Suzanne Brown, Regent of Commonwealth Chapter here in Richmond, Virginia. We are a large group of very enthusiastic women who have enjoyed the fruits of being Americans and the bounty of being in this great state of Virginia. And I am just so pleased to be able to be here and see all these happy faces. So we will get started with our program. It's going to be an informative one, and we will certainly, of course, hear from Monsieur Lafayette himself in just a few minutes. Welcome. We have some very important members of the community here. We have, I'm looking first at our state regent of the DAR, who is here to speak with us in a few minutes, Laurie Parker Nesbitt. Laurie's up in the front row. Oh, thank you, Laurie, yes. And next to Laurie is a very important woman, Dr. Patty McClay, who will speak to us she is with the American Friends of Lafayette. We actually have a few other very important members of DAR here. Penny Kaminsky is the State Recording Secretary. I don't know where Penny is, somewhere here. There, thank you. Oh, I see Penny here. Susan Walls, who's State Historian for DAR, she's here with Penny. And also we have Vana Caskey, who is a past regent and also very involved. Her list of accomplishments in DAR is as long as everyone else's, so I can't go through them all. The fellows that man those two marvelous steamboats will probably be down there helping the boats work off a little steam, I guess. But anyway, they are a fabulous group of guys run by Joe Leesfield, who is very kindly allowed us to use his very special steamboats. He brought them down from the far reaches of western Goochland County, and that was quite a big endeavor. So many, many thanks to all those guys manning that crew. First off, I want to welcome Jason Vickers-Smith and Matthew Dellinger, who are here from this group here, which made it lovely for us to be able to be here. I will introduce Matt Dellinger. He is the construction manager for the WVS team. Matt entered the business community through the automotive industry before transferring to property development in 2017. He has some pretty terrific skills in completing projects since he was in the automotive business, so he can respond to many unusual tasks, such as when our own Carol Beam said, could we hold an event like this on your property on the banks of the James River, honoring the arrival of the Marquis de Lafayette? And of course he said yes. So Matt is here with his wife Katie, and he will now introduce his co-partner. And that is on. Here, I'll get this out of your way.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Hello, my name is Matthew Dellinger, and first I would like to start by welcoming you to Rockets Landing, and thank you for joining on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. Thank you. Okay, sorry. We would like to start by welcoming you to Rockets Landing, and thank you for joining us on this beautiful Sunday afternoon to celebrate the historical event of the arrival of Lafayette to Richmond, Virginia. It has been a pleasure to work with Ms. Carol Beam, a member of the Virginia Daughters of the American Revolution, to host this event. I would like to now introduce my cousin Jason Bickersmith, who will touch on some of the history of Rockets Landing. Thank you.
Good afternoon. That was amazing watching the steamships come up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was very impressed with the parking and docking. I was wondering how they were going to do that. Well, it's a privilege to be here today honoring such a great man as the Marquis de Lafayette. WVS, we've been developing Rockets Landing here for 20 years, so I know the rest of the program we're going to learn a lot about Lafayette, but I thought we'd just take a couple minutes and just talk about this area and the history of the area here. So Rockets Landing was named after a man named Robert Rockets, who built the first ferry crossing of the river in the early 1700s. And so this has been a place in Richmond that's been in use for hundreds of years and has seen kind of everything. From the very first, the Jamestown settlement, Christopher Newport and John Smith sailed up here. Obviously, during the Revolutionary War, Richmond became the capital. St. John's Church, just up on the hill there, is where the Virginia delegates met to vote to go to the Continental Congress. And Rockets has always been the port where people came to by boat. It was one of the largest steamship terminals in the United States. And so it's not surprising that in the 19th century, any number of famous people came to the port here, not just Lafayette, but Charles Dickens came to the port here when he toured the United States. And maybe most significantly, Abraham Lincoln disembarked here in 1865 once the Confederates retreated from Richmond. So this is a very historic place, a very historic part of American history, and it's something that we've always wanted to, as much as we can celebrate and incorporate into this in this neighborhood as we've developed it. Another kind of very interesting part of Rockets Landing is the change in technology and development. So when this was first a port, it was for sailing ships, then it was a port of steamships, and then it became a hub of railroad activity because the railroads replaced the steamships.
Jason, wait, I'm sorry, can we make this louder? The colonial lady knows how to turn up the technology. Is this louder? Thank you.
That was a great demonstration of the change in technology that's occurred on this site, because it does stretch back to earliest colonial times into modern times. And 20 years ago, when we had the opportunity to start a project here, that was something that was interesting to us, is how to bring something that would be new and vibrant and modern, but also to pay homage to all the things that happened before here, from the port area to being a major manufacturing hub during the railroad period, and until modern times where now this is a modern neighborhood where people live, work, have fun. I think everyone in Richmond's probably been to the boathouse at least once or twice. This boathouse building is a really interesting building. This was the power station that powered the streetcars. It was built to power the streetcars in Richmond until General Motors bought the streetcars and closed the streetcars just after World War II. Anyways, I know we want to move on to other speakers, but it's great to be here today. We're very privileged to be part of this, and I think history is just such a wonderful an important thing that we need to continue to teach our children and pass down. That's my daughter there, yes.
Jason, thank you, and Matt, thank you very much for making this location available to us. It's really terrific up here. Next, we're going to hear from Robert Kelly. Robert is here on behalf of the American Friends of Lafayette, and he will give us a few words about that. Robert is a 2009 graduate of ODU down in Norfolk with a Bachelor of Arts in History. He has served as the director of the Gloucester Museum of History, and that is located near Yorktown, Virginia. Gloucester was the site of the 1781 Battle of the Hook, which was a Franco-American victory and the largest cavalry battle of the American Revolution. Robert also serves as vice president of the American Friends of Lafayette and is a leading Lafayette bicentennial public programming and education efforts across the nation. Interestingly, Robert lives at Fort Monroe. It's a national monument, and he lives there. He has served 8 years as the historian of Fort Monroe's national monument. The building was designed by the French Army engineer Simon Bernard. Fort Monroe is the largest masonry fort in North America and hosted General Lafayette for an overnight visit October 24, 25, 1824. Robert serves as the head varsity coach for the baseball team at Peninsula Catholic High School. And I want to know, Robert, are you rooting for the Dodgers or New York? Anyway, Robert?
The Dodgers.
Thank you.
Can you all hear me back there? Okay, very good. I hate microphones. You know, we're celebrating obviously something that happened in 1824, and we're celebrating something that happened in 1824. So I think it's cool when we can actually, reenact that. So it is an honor and a pleasure to be here with you all today. General Lafayette, distinguished guests, it is my sincere honor and pleasure to be here in Richmond, the capital of the great Commonwealth of Virginia. Much of what we know about Lafayette's travels across America in 1824, 1825 comes from his personal secretary, Auguste Levasseur. His journal was translated into English by Alan Hoffman, the president of the American Friends of Lafayette, in 2006. After visits to Yorktown, Williamsburg, Norfolk, Fort Monroe, and Portsmouth, Lafayette, Levasseur, George Washington Lafayette, and the rest of the entourage steam up the James River and arrive here at Rocket's Landing. This trip was nostalgic for Lafayette because he passed along the way points that were important to him from his past. The Battle of Green Springs, the battlefield lay just off the river. This voyage was also inspiring because they passed by Jamestown, where this country really was founded in 1607. And this trip up the James also reminded Levasseur, and certainly Lafayette, how slavery remained a blight across the landscape. In the journal, there is a large entry about slavery during the visit from Hampton Roads to Richmond. Levasseur goes on and on and on about the paradox of this country founded for liberty and freedom for all, and the fact as they rode down the river, they could see the large plantations, the large tobacco plantations, where those of African descent were enslaved. So we know that this was not lost on Lafayette, who hated slavery. As vice president of the 1,500-member American Friends of Lafayette, I'm often asked, why is this bicentennial important? Why are communities like this gathering to celebrate the return of this man? I think this question may be answered by looking at the connections between 1824 and today. In 1824, the United States was in the throes of a very contentious national presidential election. 15% of our population was enslaved. Roughly 2 million men, women, and children of African descent. Levasseur comments that Virginia's population in 1824 is 1 million, and that nearly 50%, or 425,000, are enslaved. Is that freedom and liberty for all? Our country was divided and in turmoil. President Monroe thought that if he invited Lafayette, the last surviving major general of the American Revolution, it might foster unity and renew patriotism among our citizens, especially as the nation approached its 50th anniversary of independence. Today, much like in 1824, well, I don't need to tell y'all, we're facing a tough election. We are an increasingly divided country. We are approaching a milestone anniversary of independence, 250 years, and we continue to debate the meaning of freedom and liberty for all. We have come a long way, but we still have much work to do. Now more than ever, we need to know our history. We need to teach our history, our full history. Throughout his life, Lafayette strongly supported Enlightenment principles, human rights for all, religious freedom, Native American rights, equality for women, and freedom of the press. He was a leading abolitionist of his time and always fought for liberty, freedom, and equality. This man's great legacy has also come to symbolize the grand alliance between France and the United States. This Franco-American alliance led directly to the victory at Yorktown that we just commemorated a few days ago on October 19. The spirit of Lafayette's service to America lived on during World War I through the brave American pilots who flew in the Lafayette Escadrille. In World War II, with the storming of the beaches at Normandy on D-Day and the liberation of France. Now more than ever, we need Lafayette, someone whose legacy and philosophy inspires us to be better, to be welcoming, inclusive, civil, to once again strive for equality and freedom for all people. These are the reasons that Lafayette and this bicentennial are important. God bless America. Vive Lafayette. Vive la France.
Robert, many thanks. That was terrific. Very inspiring words. Next, we're going to hear from our esteemed state regent of the DAR. Forget where I am. Laurie Nesbitt. I'm just going to give a quick little introduction. Laurie is the 42nd Virginia State Regent, and she actually serves to the National Society as an advisor to the National Defense Committee. Laurie started out after college. She has a BA in journalism, and she at the same time was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Women's Army Corps. She transferred later to the Adjutant General's Corps and was assigned in protocol, personnel, and public affairs. She served as aide-de-camp to the commandant of the Army War College at Carlisle Barracks, Pennsylvania. After leaving active duty, Laurie worked in the Winchester Star and later the Army Times News Service. She now works as a technical writer and editor. Laurie joined the DAR in 2001, quickly immersed herself in her chapter, which at that time was Fairfax County chapter. And then with many positions she held within the chapter and state and then national level of the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution. She and her husband Phil now live in Loudoun County, where she's joined the Stonebridge chapter. They have 2 adult children, a daughter, Kim, who is very involved in DAR herself as a junior member. Laurie and Phil have 2 rescue dogs. One of the dogs came from the Forward Operating Base in Iraq. Laurie has been the state regent since March 2022, and her term ends in March 2025. She's most deserving of a rest at the end of that long 3-year term. We'll now hear from Laurie Parker Nesbitt.
Yes. because I do not have a very projecting voice. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here today. I bring greetings on behalf of 9,600 plus members of the Virginia Daughters of the American Revolution on this 200th anniversary of Lafayette's return to Richmond. Most of us learn in grade school about the young Frenchman Lafayette, who came to America to fight in the Revolution after defying both his king and father-in-law, and was commissioned a major general as a teenager and helped to win the decisive battle at Yorktown. Most of us did not know that he came back in 1824 at the invitation of President James Monroe and Congress to help celebrate the nation's 50th anniversary, and was greeted throughout the country with overwhelming festivities. So much so that what he had intended as a 4-month stay to visit the original 13 colonies stretched into a 16-month tour of the 24 states that made up the country then. Imagine explaining that to his wife. Except she was gone by then. Every city along the route tried to outdo one another in celebrations honoring him. Monuments, which were not common before his visit, sprang up, often with him as a mason, a Freemason, laying the cornerstones. And there were numerous Lafayette-themed souvenirs. If anything had space for his face, it was there. To this day, 17 states have a Fayette or Lafayette counties. Louisiana has Lafayette Parish. And there are numerous cities, towns, villages, squares, streets, or buildings honored, named directly or indirectly in his honor. If Lafayette's life were to be published as a novel, it would be unbelievable. Born into a wealthy and martially distinguished family, one of his ancestors was a companion in arms to Joan of Arc, commissioned an officer in France at age 13, married happily at age 17, a major general in the Continental Army at age 19, survived the winter at Valley Forge, helped win the war at Yorktown, and involved in 2 revolutions in France, and in and out of prisons and politics, depending on who was on top in each of the revolutions. And it must be said, regarded in France through the years as a hero, or not quite a hero, depending on the prevailing political winds at the time. But Lafayette has always been a hero here. During an 1784 to 85 visit to America, he addressed the Virginia House of Delegates, calling for liberty of all mankind and urging an end to slavery, received an honorary degree from Harvard University, participated in peace negotiations with the Iroquois Nation, and was made a natural-born citizen of Maryland, which in turn made him a natural-born citizen of the United States after the ratification of the Constitution in 1789. Virginia also granted him citizenship, which he probably valued a little bit higher. At one point, he was offered the post of French minister to the United States, but he declined, saying that he was too attached to America to act as a foreign envoy to it. After the Louisiana Purchase, President Thomas Jefferson asked if he might be interested in the governorship, but he declined, desiring instead to work for liberty in France. He is sometimes known as the hero of the 2 worlds for his service to both France and the United States. To quote historian Mark Leibson, which many of us know because he's spoken at many of our meetings, Lafayette consistently stuck to his ideals, even when doing so endangered his life and fortune. Those ideals proved to be the founding principles of 2 of the world's most enduring nations, the United States and France. That is a legacy which few military leaders, politicians, or statesmen can match, and we welcome him and honor him again today. Thank you.
Rory, thank you. That was terrific. Appreciate you being here. We're now going to hear from Patty McClay, who is here. She has 2 hats that she wears. She is a very active DAR member in her home state of Maryland, and she is also very involved with the American Friends of Lafayette. Patty is a board-certified internist and rheumatologist and has over 40 years of experience as a physician, educator, and lecturer. She's a lifetime member of the American Friends of Lafayette and is on both its governing board as well as the National Steering Committee for the bicentennial celebration of Lafayette's farewell tour scheduled for 2024-2025. That's a mouthful. Beside national presentations, she's responsible for planning both the Lafayette Farewell Tour, visit to Fort McHenry, as well as the reenactment of the joint sessions of the U.S. Congress. She serves on the planning committees for Philadelphia and New York City. In DAR, Patty McClay is the immediate past Maryland state historian and is now state chair for DAR leadership training courses. She also serves as the national vice chair for the DAR's commemoration of the Lafayette. And she told me she's got two marvelous adult daughters that are just amazing and tops in their field. So I don't know how you keep up with all this. But thank you for being with us today. We'll hear from Patty.
General Lafayette, Madam Chapter Regent, Madam State Regent, and all of these honored guests who are here to hear about what we want to talk about Lafayette. I am here actually as the chair of the Franco-American Memorial Committee for the DAR. So I want to share with you what DAR is doing both historically as well as now in our relationship with France. It is absolutely my honor and pleasure to be with all of you as we celebrate this epic event. And how great is it to welcome Lafayette to Richmond on the exact day that he visited 200 years ago. Huzzah! Commemorating our DAR friendship with France and Lafayette's farewell tour has been a major focus of our organization and my committee. In the way of background, the Daughters of the American Revolution, founded in 1890, is a nonprofit, non-political, lineage-based service organization of women dedicated to promoting love of country, education, and historic preservation, both in the areas of physical sites as well as preserving history in the memory of our nation's citizens. With over 1 million members and 3,000 chapters across the United States and overseas, including in France, service is what we are devoted to doing. Service that makes a difference in our communities, and especially those in need, and with today's patriots, our active and retired military. The ties of friendship between the DAR and France may not date back 247 years ago when Lafayette, sir, you arrived here in 1777, but it does date back 124 years. On the occasion of the Paris Exposition in 1900, DAR participated in the creation of 2 equestrian statues, one of George Washington that was dedicated on July 3rd of 1900, and a second statue to you, sir, the Marquis de Lafayette, dedicated on July 4th of 1900. These monumental projects symbolize the deep ties of friendship between France and the United States. During World War I, it was the DAR who were the very first to send food overseas and supplies to the French and Europeans in 1914. When America entered the war in April of 1917, DAR members volunteered as ambulance drivers and radio operators, farmerettes who grew the food at home, and factory workers who made the ammunition for the soldiers in the trenches. And it was the DAR who organized the Red Cross Nursing Service, sending more than 20,000 nurses to the French and the Western Front. After the war, DAR mobilized relief efforts to reconstruct France and care for war orphans. During World War II, a member of DAR members in France actually relocated to the United States in order to organize relief efforts for the orphans, while American members volunteered in French hospitals, canteens, and took on support roles with the military. They donated to relief efforts in France and sewed comfort kits for both American and French GIs. Today's DAR and the Franco-American Memorial Committee have 4 major points of focus in the DAR. First, commemorating with story and ceremony the many French soldiers who sacrificed their all for our nation's independence. Second focus involves a collaboration with La Souvenir Française, which is an organization that maintains the memory of the French military and outstanding citizens through the care of monuments, grave sites, and memorials here in America. DAR is helping La Souvenir Française to locate, refurbish, and rededicate these Franco-American monuments across all 50 states and in the District of Columbia. And fourth, the celebration of the bicentennial, on cue right there, right? The bicentennial of Lafayette's farewell tour. In collaboration with the American Friends of Lafayette, DAR members are serving as farewell tour committee chairs, committee members, and event volunteers, lending our efforts to the success of this 13-month, 24-state recreation of Lafayette's visit to America 200 years ago as our nation's guest. And so let us applaud definitely all those who've helped organize this event today. Thank you, Carol Bean, wherever you're standing, right? Yeah. In his youth, Lafayette came from France to fight for our American independence. He helped to make our nation a shining beacon of liberty and democracy, and then devoted the rest of his life to carrying that same ideal of hope and human rights forward throughout the world. On July 4th of 1917, while standing beside Lafayette's grave in Paris, Colonel Charles E. Stanton addressed the war-weary French people, promising that the United States would soon end the conflict. He sealed that promise with the resounding words, "Lafayette, we are here." Today, here at Richmond's Rocket Landing, we repeat these words, "Lafayette, we are here for you." But this time, we are here to celebrate this joyous occasion. We are here to welcome our hero of two worlds, General Lafayette, on this, the bicentennial of his visit to Richmond. Huzzah and Vive la Lafayette!
Thank you, Patty. That was terrific. Very exciting. Well said. We're now going to hear from a very poised young lady who's come today to talk to us from the children of the American Revolution. This is a group of young people. They are the future members of DAR and SAR and other societies that are here to remember the importance of your ancestry and the Revolutionary War cause. We have Emily Akers. Emily is not Akers, sorry, looking at the wrong, Emily Hopkins. I'm looking at the other children of the American Revolution family. Emily Hopkins is a sophomore at Grove Christian School. She's a member of the William Byrd Society of the Children of the American Revolution. She's currently the state historian for CAR, and she has served on numerous committees from the state level and also the national level of CAR. Emily is active in her school with various sports. She plays school's volleyball team, basketball, soccer, and track teams. She's an active Girl Scout. She's working on completing her Gold Award, which is the highest level award that a young lady in Girl Scouts can earn. Her project is focusing on sign language. We are so fortunate to have this busy young lady here today, Emily Hopkins.
Hello, my name is Emily Hopkins, and on behalf of State President Sarah Treppenning and the Virginia Society Children of the American Revolution, it is my honor as state historian to be here today to commemorate Lafayette's return to Richmond. This good? Okay. Do you want me to start over? Yes? No? Just keep going? Okay. CAR is honored to be here today to celebrate this momentous occasion. Before James Bond, there was James Lafayette. James Lafayette was born into slavery on a plantation owned by Williams Armistead in New Kent, Virginia. After being recruited by Marquis de Lafayette to serve as a spy for the French Allied units in the American Revolution, he gained information on General Cornwallis's plans and informed Lafayette in Washington about approaching British troops during the Battle of Yorktown. Leading up to this important victory, in 1784, the Marquis personally lobbied for the freedom of James. In honor of his friend, James took the last name Lafayette and is forever known as America's first spy, James Lafayette. In 1781, James received permission from his master to enlist in Marquis de Lafayette's French Allied units. His master, James Williams Armistead, was already busy working as a state commissary of military supplies. The Continental Army needed reliable information on the enemy's plans, so James started working as a spy, disguised as a runaway slave. General Cornwallis willingly accepted James without question because he was a native Virginian and knew the train very well. This gave him direct access to Cornwallis's headquarters, the center of the British War Department. In order to get back to the Continental Army, James requested that he be a spy for the British Army. Cornwallis loved this idea and thus began James's life as a double agent. Because of James, the Continental Army received valuable information while Cornwallis received misleading information. Without the knowledge of James's real plan, Cornwallis assigned him to work under Benedict Arnold. While navigating Arnold's troops through Virginia, James was able to learn a lot about the Redcoats' future plans. Probably one of James's biggest accomplishments happened at Yorktown. In 1781, James told Lafayette that Cornwallis had moved his troops from Portsmouth to Yorktown. He was also able to smuggle some of Cornwallis's papers, which had proof of the Brit and his army's plans to stay in Yorktown. Unbeknownst to James, Lafayette had mentioned him in reports to General George Washington, referring to James as a very sensible fellow and his good friend. James was also able to inform Lafayette that the British were receiving reinforcements, and soon. This gave him enough time to plan a blockade on the foe's advancements. As a result, on October 17, 1781, Cornwallis surrendered. Without the help of James, the colonists would not have won the battle at Yorktown. It took James 6 whole years, but in 1787 he was granted freedom for his contributions to the war. Now a free man, James made Lafayette his surname, making his full name James Lafayette, as a tribute to the French general he spied for. James Lafayette was a brave man who paved the way for American freedom. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Emily. That was terrific. Like hearing about the double agent spies there. Our next speaker is a very important one. The reason we're here today. Monsieur the Marquis de Lafayette, better known in Richmond, Virginia as Charles Wiesinger. Charles is a professional actor with a BA in theatrical and performing arts, and his experience spans film, stage, television, commercials, including appearances on the American Heroes Channel, the Military Channel, and the History Channel, as well as historical sites, national parks, and many numerous special events. Charles combines his talent for acting with his love of history in this research and interpretation of historical figures. Charles is a member of a team of reenactors chosen by the American Friends of Lafayette to portray the Marquis during his bicentennial tour through 24 states in 13 months. And Charles is also a favorite of Commonwealth Chapter DAR. We have had him on many occasions come and portray the Lafayette that we know and love. Thank you. Come forward, please, sir.
Bonjour. It is a pleasure to be here today. I am overcome with the emotions, the sentiment, and I welcome the thanks that you all have given to me. I see out in the crowd friends, some patriots that I served with, some veterans, and I see the younger youth of Richmond, and I am inspired. At the age of 19, I was a Major General in your army, not my army. And as your general, I was fighting for what I had read almost 2 years before, the Declaration of Independence, which I read in French. This inspiration, this freedom for men, for all men, liberty, freedoms, I am encouraged not only to fight for your cause, but to join your colors, which I did. And that is what brings me here today. Now, unfortunately, the last time I believe that I spent this much time in Richmond, it was not as it is today. Mr. Arnold, Benedict Arnold, burned down Richmond in January of 1781, and I did not arrive into Richmond until April. And so I saw it with a population of, I believe, about 600 individuals in the ruins of Richmond. And I see it now in the thousands. A growing population, growing buildings, growing sites, and now the new capital of this Virginia. I am inspired. I am moved, and I am happy to be here. As I look over, I also see the Richmond Youth Militia. I will hand select a few of those individuals to be my personal honor guard as we march up to the Capitol in Capitol Square. So I do thank you all for being here. With this, I would like to say how much that I appreciate you being here. I request that you also accept my fond and profound thanks for not only celebrating with me, for sharing with me this special event, for continuing to move forward with the ideas of liberty in this grand republic, which I believe to be the grandest, and also to unify the United States of America with France, to continue to build the alliance that we have had from the previous war. So with that, I say thank you. Merci.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. This concludes our program. Let me make sure. I don't want to forget anyone. Yes. This has been a marvelous afternoon. We are so fortunate to be gathered here and have heard such stirring and important words. We have many people here. I've listed a few from the beginning, but I do want you to pay attention in your program. On the back are many acknowledgments of groups that have participated and are attending here today. First off, Bill Welsh, if you want to raise your hand. He is with the American Revolution Roundtable of Richmond. And he's got a little booth set up there. It's a fabulous organization. And for those of you who are interested in more history, just hearing about more, they offer more. It's a great group, and the fun thing is, my husband and I have attended some of the meetings. They have a fabulous dinner at the U of R dining hall beforehand, so it's a nice meal. You could eat like a college kid. The bicentennial of Lafayette's farewell tour. We of course want to thank Charles Wiesinger, also known as Lafayette. Henrico County Parks and Recreation. I saw you two over there. Thank you. They've got some fun information, and you can pick up things concerning Henrico County. And I believe we're in Henrico. Matt or Jason, is this Henrico or the city? I don't know. Right on the edge. Okay. Okay. All right. Great. Okay. Is it like this far or this far? I don't know. Yes. Yeah. The Montpelier Center for Arts and Education. That's a fabulous venue up in Montpelier in Hanover County, and they actually have graciously loaned us these chairs. So we thank them for bringing those chairs down. And they've got a terrific exhibit going on right now that we have been enjoying with DAR, the American Traveling Revolutionary Exhibit. That was wonderful. Of course, we want to thank the National Society of Daughters of the American Revolution, the Virginia 250 Commission, Virginia Children of the American Revolution, and the Virginia Daughters of the American Revolution. And as a Commonwealth chapter, we have to thank Carol Bean. Would you stand up? She doesn't like this, but Carol, thank you. Carol is is a driving force behind this event and many other chapter events that we enjoy. She's a real lover of American history, and we wouldn't be such a successful chapter without Carol's driving force, so thank you. Thank you all very much. I think we could wrap up this event. If there's anything else that needs to be announced, I can't think of anything. So with that, in closing, oh, I know, I wanted to thank the Nexus Brass, the band. Stephen is here. I think your other two bandmates had to leave, but thank you for playing and getting such a rousing rendition of the French national anthem. That was wonderful.
And you've done a great job too, Susan.
I could talk all day. Oh, I want to thank my husband, Bill Brown, and my son, Will, and his new wife, Serena. Will Brown and Serena. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for coming out today. Vive la France. Did I forget something?
Do you want your photo with Lafayette?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's good to see you in action.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, Lori and Patty. I didn't say any bad words. A few have flown out of my mouth today already. They're not going to tell you. My husband wants a picture. Yeah. I don't know. You and me and Lafayette. How about that? Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, Patty, come, please, dear. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mike said, love your Mike.
Do you need anyone else?
This is great, Patty. Thank you, dear. Thank you. Laurie, thank you. And I'll see you again soon. Wait. Oh, Mark, I'm sorry. Yeah, you can't, your days. My husband knows the days, and my job's not like yours. Yeah. Come here. Yeah. Laurie and I will.